everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Clau and my guest today is David Cameron. Hi, David. How are you?
Hi, Claudia. How are you?
Well. Good. Thanks. Good to see you. David is a true technology leader and currently the engineering director and part of the leadership team at Bench, a fast-growing global programmatic marketing platform. David has some 20 years experience in the fast-developing technology space and startups, and he enjoys building and leading technology and engineering teams to deliver strategic outcomes. He has a bachelor's degree in mechatronics and is passionate about delivering quality and efficiency through agile methodologies and strategic ideations. We've worked together when David was still working at a startup, and I've seen David going from strength to strength ever since. So I'm keen to talk to you today, David, and hear about your take on shifting leadership. I'm really keen to hear, in your world, what are the challenges and opportunities, the challenges you face and opportunities that you see?
Well, I think one of the main challenges at the moment is uncertainty. That there's a huge downturn across the board, and it doesn't just hit specific industries, although some are hit harder. And so it's not something that people can plan for, and it's not something that people could expect. So that's the big picture side, but for individuals, that it really hits the rubber really hits the road for individuals, and how is that working for people in your team? And so I think a large part of this is just around how do we provide certainty for people in a time where we don't have certainty. And we don't want to do that by providing false certainty and lying to people, but how can we be really certain with people about what the company will do, what our team will do, and how we can lead through this time, despite the uncertainty around that. A very personal challenge for me in this time has been having 3 boys at home. So then that's also supervising their home learning, and they're enthusiastic and lovely and noisy. So that's been quite difficult to work from home, both for me and my wife. But it's also been a real opportunity to spend some time with them, which is definitely a real joy. But I think that through all of this, there's been some great opportunities. And one of them is that a shock like this really forces you to rethink what you're doing. Are there better ways that what you can do? Yeah. What would you do differently if you were doing this again? And so one of the things that I see as an opportunity is for people to really think, what does it mean to work? Does that need to be physically in an office? Does it need to be physically in the office part of the time? So I expect that out of this, a lot of companies are going to take up an opportunity to have people working from home part-time or full-time. Some industries possibly even 100% remotely.
Yeah, great insights, and well done on homeschooling 3 boys at home.
It's as crazy as it sounds.
Yeah. And you said it's about rethinking it. So I'm curious to hear about how do you fuel your thinking power and your focus in all of that?
Yeah, I find that just going outside for some fresh air and getting a walk helps enormously. That's actually a real challenge at this time, because particularly working remotely, it's easy just to get stuck in and kind of dig in on what you're doing. And there's no kind of triggers to go outside. And so you need to put some structure around that. But I have found that when I do go outside and get a fresh air, it's just amazing how some of the problems that I'm working on suddenly become a lot clearer. And I find that I can just kind of work through things a lot more easily with that. Just some fresh air and a little bit of exercise helps a lot.
Yeah.
The other thing I find incredibly helpful is to talk things through with people. So I find that just by articulating a problem to somebody else, it can become clearer what the problem is. Yeah. And sometimes that as a solution is actually really what is the problem, rather than trying to just come up with an answer. And of course, other people come up with really good ideas too. And so I feel that that really helps kind of just improve my own, I guess, results in what I'm doing.
You're so right about that fresh air, because when we step away from our desk, our brain gets a rest, right? And it calms down, and then there's space for lateral thinking again. It's so good that you do that and keep doing it, right? What's your take on reinventing yourself?
It's a really interesting question. Through my career, I've worked across about 6 different industries. So it's always been in the technology space. So I could argue that in some ways I've reinvented myself each time I've started a job in a new industry, and to build a better understanding of that industry and what's happening and what matters. What I found with that is, I think really leaning on your strengths is what it comes from.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you can be forced to reinvent yourself by circumstances, or sometimes maybe you decide to do something very different to what you've been doing before.
Yeah.
But I think understanding your strengths and knowing where you have those reservoirs of strength, and then leaning on those, and they might be different in different circumstances, and you might use those strengths in different ways. But I think, being able to lean on that and use those, and draw on those, I think really helps enormously.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I may add also to be aware when we're overusing or underusing our strength, because it's so much more fun. Strengths are usually what you're good at, so you want to do more of that. Hey, and when you think about reinventing yourself, what risks are you willing to take in that process?
This is a fascinating question. I think I almost sort of turn it on its head and ask what risks would I not be willing to take. So as a father and a husband of 3 kids, I find that there's some risks that I'd be very willing to take before that I would be less willing to take now. So I'm less likely to, I don't want to risk my family, and I'm less inclined to risk my own health than I might have been in the past, because of the family that I have. And I'd want to avoid things that might have a longer term impact on that, like working crazy long hours would be a real issue for the relationships I have. But if I get beyond that, I'd be willing to risk most things. And I think I'm quite comfortable with risking, picking up new ideas and risks or things that make me uncomfortable. And I think also, interestingly, this time has made me consider possibly the impact of the coronavirus has been substantial, but we've all survived. And so I think that's actually inclined to make me be more willing to take risks and new ideas.
Well said. Yeah, that's something to think about. Thank you. And what will you be doing differently going forward, or either doing or being, maybe?
So I have a few different things that I want to do differently going forward. One, on quite a personal note, I want to look at working from home a day a week. And the reason for that is I found that myself working from home could be quite productive part of the time. And I think we've proven that. But it's also, for me, it's something about my team. So my team themselves have found it more productive working from home. And I want to support them in that. And so demonstrating kind of at a leadership level that it's okay to do that enables them to be more productive as a team. So that's one thing I absolutely want to change. On a slightly less personal note, I've noticed that one of the things I think that's been amazing about the coronavirus is how adaptable people have been. I'm still sort of shocked that in the space of 2 weeks, we suddenly had a whole lot of people working from home. We had people educating their own kids. We had empty streets. We had just the entire environment that we were in, and everything that we were doing changed so rapidly and so quickly. So what that says to me is that I think people are a lot more adaptable than we really think they are. And then if we have a true crisis and a true problem and a real challenge for people, that they can rise to that. So for me personally, I want to be a lot more open to change because I've seen that adaptability in myself. And I think be more willing to, if there's justification, bring change for my teams and at my company.
Yes, and I'll echo that. It's the role modeling as a leader and adapting and shifting your leadership and still being productive. That's such a great insight going forward, isn't it? Well, thanks, David, so much for your insights and your wisdom. That's really great, and I hope people are really taking the gems from that today. And thanks everyone for joining the show. I hope to see you next time. Keep shifting. See you soon. Bye.